It's time now for the Wednesday Night Coaches Corner on KORN News Radio, FM 1013, AM 1490, and online at KORNradio.com. The Wednesday Night Coaches Corner live from the Freight House Room of the Depot is brought to you by the Mitchell Rec Center and by the Depot. Now to the Freight House Room of the Depot for the Wednesday Night Coaches Corner. Here are your hosts, Travis Krins and KORN Sports Director, Steve Morgan.
And welcome to the Freight House Room of the Depot. Travis Krins here tonight. We're online only on our website, KORNradio.com, streaming through YouTube. Audra Rew going to lead us off. Also, Mitchell basketball. Got Todd, Neuendorf, and Wes Morgan coming up here before 7 o'clock tonight. Travis Carpenter with Mitchell Wrestling at 7, and Matt Wilber with the Dakota Wesleyan basketball will join us tonight at 7:15. And Audra Rew joins us. And first appearance here this winter season. You've been a couple weeks into it. How have things gone so far?
Yeah, things are going pretty well. We came out with a great first meet score of a 145. I was really happy with that. And that score actually didn't include our senior, so Maria Krall. So I was pretty happy. And then, things have been a little bit rocky since. Nothing to get too alarmed about, but haven't really had a full lineup since. And one kid here, one kid there kind of thing. And then we've been trying some new skills at meets and didn't go great, had a meet canceled. It's just kind of been a little bit rocky, but the kids are really pushing hard, staying positive, excited about it. We did get beat last weekend by Watertown, but I think that kind of lit a fire under them. It's hard to not be beat sometimes. They need that intensity. So, I think we're ready, and we'll just keep pushing it.
Roster-wise, a lot of returners from last year's state title team. How's the roster look this far? Older roster experience, and of course, you got some of those freshmen, 8th graders in the mix too.
I have 3 seniors. Maria Krall, who is very experienced. She has 4 state titles under her belt, and hopefully 5th this year, and that would be a record for Mitchell High School for any individual to have that many team state titles. Then we've got Kaylee Hingelfelt, who, she's a senior. She's been competing beam and vault for us all along. Mackenzie Yauger this year, due to injuries, she's kind of chosen just to be our team manager, she's a huge help in the gym. Basically just like having another coach. She is fantastic. So that's a great help, great leadership there. And junior position, we have Caitlin Ostaby. She's been doing vault. She did vault a little for us last year and has been in the vault lineup every time this year. Then we've got our freshman crew. So we have Alyssa Hughes, Gracie Sismowski, and Chelsea Moore. Those are my 3 freshmen. Oh, skip sophomores. Macy Mock's my sophomore. Macy is such a leader, strong on all 4 events, sometimes doesn't always do all 4 invites, but she's always my backup. Great leadership qualities. I really look to Macy to kind of pull the younger and the older crews together. Then I've got a whole slew of 8th graders. My top 8th graders being Kaylee Bowder, Kyra Groper, Emily Moody. They've been doing a great job for me. I really noticed those 8th graders really settling down. They all competed varsity as 7th graders. But 7th graders are just nervous all the time. And so this year, I really see them settling down and really being confident, and it's really paid off. Kaylee Bowder has won 2 all-around titles so far out of 3 meets. And Emily tied Maya Morris, the state floor champion, tied her on floor at the Aberdeen meet. So, as an 8th grader, that's doing pretty good.
Good start.
And then we have 1 7th grader this year. Harley Goldhammer. And so, we're
plugging along. Audra Rew joining us here, Mitchell Gymnastics. They've kind of been everywhere in Mitchell once. They've hosted a meet, been in Sioux Falls at Washington, Yankton, Aberdeen. So they've gotten plenty of time in over the past few weeks. Placed second to Watertown and Aberdeen there last week. What's coming up here this week? A couple of meets right here in Mitchell.
So this weekend we have our Joe McCormick invite, and we divided into a 2-day meet. We don't like such huge competitions, so we divided into 2 days. We have 17 teams coming. So we have 9 on Friday, starting at 5:30 at the high school, and we have 8 teams on Saturday, starting at 10:45 at the high school. That way, you don't have to be there forever. We do have Mitchell kids competing both days. Watertown and Mitchell will both compete, and my top Mitchell kids will compete Saturday. My B varsity team, if you want to call it that. I kind of want to plug my, we call them JV, but I kind of have to plug them a little bit because of the triangulars we have gone
They're
to.
just as good as anybody else.
They would have placed second. They beat every varsity team out there. So, I kind of feel bad for them because anywhere else in the state, they would be a varsity team and they'd probably be ranked number 3 or 4 in the state. And so, I feel like it does them an injustice to call them the junior varsity team. Unfortunately, that's what they are when they're here in Mitchell, but they do a great job. And so that team will be competing on Friday. Friday, we also have Dual coming, who was the state A champion last year, Madison, who is notoriously strong. We have a new team this year to South Dakota, and that is Hendricks, Minnesota, co-opt with Esteline. Little story there. Wow. The coach used to be the Mitchell head coach for years. Sherry Olson, and now she's Sherry Johnson. And so, years ago, before she and I coached together. And so she moved to Minnesota years ago. They have built a gym on their farm, and they started a gymnastics program. And so anyway, they are now a South Dakota team. They're coming to our invite on Friday, and they are probably ranked number 2 right now in A. And then Parkston Ethan Hansen, who got 3rd at state last year, they will be on Friday also at 5:30. So I kind of have the top 4 A teams competing Friday at 5:30, along with some other AA teams. And then on Saturday, we have Mitchell, Watertown, Yankton, Sioux Falls teams, Rapid teams, and anyway, there's 8 of us. So it should be an interesting competition, and we're excited about it.
What was the process of getting a Minnesota team in there? Was that much of a process, or was that something, something unusual? Is there many hoops to go through to get that done that you know of?
It's interesting. Their schools co-opt. So a Minnesota school, I didn't know you could do this, co-opt all their sports with a South Dakota school.
And they all compete in South Dakota?
Nope. Each sport gets to choose which state they're going to compete in.
That's interesting.
So for gymnastics, Minnesota is much tougher competition. So they wanted to be in South Dakota for gymnastics. So they got to pick which state they wanted to be in.
Wow.
So that's how it's working anyway, from our point of view. So then when the Joe McCormick is done on Saturday, we have our mega meet, and that starts at 3:15 on Saturday, and it goes until about 9:15 at night Saturday. And then we start up again Sunday morning at 8 o'clock, and we're done. We go until 6 o'clock on Sunday. So we have all of the elementary kids. I think we have about 60 Mitchell kids competing. We've got 10 teams from around the area, Nebraska, some Iowa, mostly just the eastern side of the state here. So it's fun for the kids, and their last Christmas meet, so to speak, to hit off the Christmas break. So
the amount of people it takes to put something like that on, who is helping out, volunteers, who do you look towards to run 3 meets essentially?
All of the parents, from all the way down from high school down through all the mega parents from the first year mega kids, all help. And so the mega parents work the high school meet, and the high school parents work the mega meet, and we all pitch in, move equipment over there, move equipment back. I mean, we're starting tomorrow at 7:15 in the morning, and we won't be done till Monday at 3 o'clock when I got to start practice. So it's a big endeavor, and it couldn't happen without everybody pitching in and helping.
What do you like to do over that Christmas break, as far as how often you practice, how often maybe you give them a week off? What's the schedule like here at the end of this month?
Well, the Activities Association has now mandated that we take 5 days off, 22nd through the 26th, 4 days, I guess. But I've always done that anyway. It just might have been different days. I kind of go by how the days fall in the week, and not so much the
where's Christmas
dates.
at?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and follow that for all my kids. The younger kids might as well get used to that, and they deserve a break also. But it is nice to have those days where you can come in the gym and practice and have those fun days when they weren't at school all day. And so we do enjoy our Christmas break practices. We can just play more games with the younger kids and make it a lot more fun. And the older kids have more time to work some new skills and not just routines all the time. So when Christmas break is short, it isn't near as much fun, but that's kind of what we do. We go back and work some new skills and see if we can get some other things to put in our routines and kind of break up the boredom of just doing routine after routine after routine. So that's kind of what we use Christmas break for.
How much more comfortable are they at home? Is that more of a maybe 7th, 8th grader thing than upperclassmen, or do they enjoy that to being kind of relaxed? They know their atmosphere, whether it's at home or elsewhere.
I think it depends on the event. Floor is definitely advantage to be at home. Beam, I'm not so sure. We're going to start off on beam, at least on Saturday. I kind of just want to get it out of the way. I feel like the kids notice their friends in the stands, and we have such a small atmosphere in our gym. And, there's spectators literally sitting 1 foot from the beam mat. And so it's not a great location to do beam at your home gym. But, if we get through beam and we're solid on it, I think they can relax and have a great time the rest of the day.
Audra Rew with Mitchell Gymnastics joining us here online only tonight, Wednesday night coaches show, live from the Freight House room of the Depot. I don't know if we touched on this late last year or not, but future state tournaments in the Corn Palace, that's a thing. How did that process go, and when is that going to happen?
We did get a bid to host state meet. I believe it's in 4 years. So my kids that are freshmen will be seniors. It'll be their senior year. So, we did host a club state meet in March last year, and we did have some malfunctions. That was our club state meet that we held, which is a very large meet. But we did have some issues with the bars. The anchors that were in the stage and had been there forever did not hold up. And so we had to take bars down, move bars over to Mega. So we actually were having kids compete 3 events at the Corn Palace.
And they had to go across town to go.
They bussed across town and did bars at our gym. And then we had a live feed at the Corn Palace where parents could watch it. So,
that's something different.
Nobody could have guessed what would have happened. Couldn't have ever expected that to happen. But I feel like we handled it with great character, and everything went great. And the kids that needed to qualify to nationals did, and it all went fine. But I definitely don't want to go through that stress again. So we will make sure we have the equipment necessary to make sure the bars don't come down again.
And you kind of mentioned it right away. Kind of, is it injury, sickness, a combination of both early on here in December?
Little injuries. We're kind of waiting back to hear on Gracie, on an injury with Gracie Szymanski, to see where she'll be for the rest of the season. So we're kind of on pins and needles for that one. So we'll see what happens. Maria bumped her head a little bit, and we were extra cautious. I think she probably would have been fine for that first meet. It happened the Friday after Thanksgiving, but with the meet being Monday, I didn't want to risk it. She was back to practice full speed on Tuesday. So she probably would have been fine on that Monday, but it really wasn't worth the risk. So
again, plenty of meets. So remind us once again, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the high school gym, also at Mega as well. Times if folks want to come on out.
All the meets are at the high school. Okay. It's just our Mega kids that are participating in the other meet. So everything will be at the high school this weekend. So 5:30 Friday, 10:45 on Saturday for the high school team. And then we'll start. I do have some elementary school kids that are a higher level performing at 2:00. And then the Mega kids start at 3:15 all the way through Sunday night at 6:00. So
kind of that big meets at Friday night, the Watertowns, the A.
Nope, that's Saturday at 10:45. Yep. Mitchell Watertown will be Saturday at 10:45, and my Mitchell JV kids and more the A teams are Friday at 5:30.
All right, check it out there all at the high school gym this weekend. Plenty of gymnastics. Audra Rew joining us. Thanks for coming down. We'll see you probably in a few weeks.
Thank you.
Audra Rew here leading things off at the Wednesday night coaches show. Head coach Todd Neuendorf with Mitchell boys basketball. He's up next. Travis Grins here at the Depot tonight. Again, quarterback club meeting at 7:30. Got to Todd Neuendorf up next.
It's Mitchell Colonel girls basketball play-by-play out west this weekend. The Colonel girls are at Rapid City Central Friday night. Pre-game coverage starts at 7:45 Central Time with play-by-play action at 8:00. Be listening for the Mitchell Roofing and Siding 3-point jackpot and the Shays Player of the Game. Colonel girls basketball this weekend in Rapid City on FM 1013, AM 1490, and KORNradio.com.
This is Jordan Cranny. Tune in for all the action on KORN News Radio.
This is John Foster from The Depot. We're more than just a typical sports bar. In addition to pool and darts and sports on TV, we feature 30 beers on tap from all over the globe. Happy hour daily between 4:30 and 7:30 with extended hours on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Enjoy our new menu items, monster burgers, gourmet flatbreads, and salads, along with other soon-to-be Depot favorites. The Depot, open all day, every day, starting at 11:30 a.m.
You are listening to Wednesday Night Coach's Corner Show with Steve and Travis on KORN Radio FM 101.3 AM 1490 and online at KORNradio.com. This is Coach Neuendorf. Now back to the show.
Wednesday Night Coaches Show here online only tonight on our website, KORNradio.com, with SDSU basketball against number 7th ranked Oregon. That's coming up over the air at 7 o'clock tonight. Mitchell boys basketball, head coach Todd Neuendorf. First game was Saturday, 49-48 Huron. They win their first game of the season. Close game. What do you take from that first game? It was a slow start, but then after that, things kind of picked up a little bit. Slow start in that third quarter too, but you got to like the fight that the kids showed.
Yeah, we do. That's what we were afraid of a little bit, was the slow start out of the gates. Kids were pretty nervous and pretty tight, and dug ourselves a 14-point deficit right out of the gates. Ended up getting ourselves back in it and actually led in that second quarter. But like I said, the kids battled back, and we got down 7 there with about 2.5. Yeah, 2.5, and then the kids brought it back. And I thought a big portion of the game, or big part of the game, was when they got 2 or 3 shots down there. It was tied up, and we could have had a rebound and maybe had the last shot and with a chance to win. But give our kids credit; they came down the floor, and we executed at the end. And Derek went to the free throw line and just missed free throw. Looked good from where we were at, and just hit Clang the back of the iron a little bit.
Yeah, 1-point loss there. Very close game. You got, as you mentioned, down 7 points with about 2.5 to go. And that late game execution, had a couple chances last year late. This was much improved compared to last year.
Yeah, it was. I think, I think there was probably a feeling maybe in the Palace with that once we got down big, it was just going to be done. And these kids didn't allow that to happen. They fought themselves back in it, and it'll get better and better and better as we go on. I expect this weekend to be much better. Where our kids will come out, they've kind of got that nerve thing out of the way now, and we'll come play. And again, I don't like losing, and I'm not into moral victories. But when you got a team that played Sioux Falls, Washington, and this is a Huron team that had Sioux Falls, Washington down by 14 also. And, if we can just get a couple baskets to start that basketball game, you wonder how it changes the game. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because before we scored, it was, you're down 14, and then finally you get yourself going, and then we kind of took off a little bit, but it is what it is, and we went back to work, and we'll get them going this weekend.
And you got Rapid City Schools coming to the Corn Palace Central on Friday night at 7. Stevens on Saturday afternoon at 1:30. Caden Hinker got his first start as a freshman. I think he made one or two 3-pointers. Had some nice low post moves as well. Didn't quite finish there, but had some nice open shots. So what did you like about Caden's first start?
Well, I think he's going to be pretty good down the road. He's a good young player, and he was one that was real keyed up to start the basketball game. He was at the Corn Palace by about 12 noon.
He was ready for it.
He was there, and so just a situation where, once he got those nerves out, the shots he missed late in the game that from the post area, I think was just a classic case of him being, not being game beaten on like that. He was just kind of worn out, and everything he shot was off the front of the rim. So didn't miss it badly by any means, but just kind of clipped the front of the rim. And, he was pretty worn out. He got in a little foul trouble, and to his credit, he had 2 fouls in that first quarter, and we rode him through most of the first half, and he didn't pick up that third, and he's going to be an important part of what we do.
Keel Nelson did a nice job in that second half with Kobe Bush. I think he maybe only had 1 or 2 field goals in that second half. Is Keel kind of that lockdown guy you're going to kind of look at that other team at?
Well, Keel's going to be honest, Keel will probably guard the other team's big guy because Keel's pretty strong kid. So he did a great job on Kobe Bush, and he's probably going to draw matchups like that. He'll probably draw Matt Morris when we play. when we play Yankton. Keel just does those steady things, and he'll get us rebounds, and he'll do the dirty work. And the other guy that I thought did a nice job, he played all 32 minutes also, was Jake. Carter Jacobson didn't come out of the basketball game, and Jake guarded the Bourne kid who had 17 the night before, and I think Bourne ended up with 4. And so Jake did a nice job, and also on the offensive side, Jake had 15 for us. So he had a good night also, and we expect those 3 guys to step up. They're going to play better and better as it gets going here.
You got a couple of seniors, but you also got a lot of young guys as well. Those emotional leaders, Carter Jacobson kind of showed some emotion there late in the game. Is that the kind of guy he is? Who are those guys that get excited there at the end of the game?
We're trying to figure that out. It's Carter Jacobson's probably an emotional guy. We've been barking at him all since we started to be more vocal, to talk, and it's tough. It's tough to get him to talk. It's tough to get him to talk on the floor. But I think Carter Jacobson's that guy. Derek Factor's that guy. Like Keel just does it with action. He's not a big barker, and Hanker probably will be, but it's hard for a freshman to be a barker, And so right now, I think you got Carter Jacobson, and I think you got Derek Factor doing a lot of the, trying to lead by example, and also, be vocal on the floor.
You have Central coming up 7:00 at the Corn Palace. So what do you expect from them?
Well, they're a team. They played already 3 games out in Wyoming, and I've watched 2 of the games. In 2 of the games, they've shot 3 perimeter shots. So everything is a dribble, trying to get to the rim. They got a couple big guys. They run a little high-low. You're going to see some flex, play some 2-3 zones, some 1-2-2. So they do a lot of things. Last year when we played them, they were really up and down. They were a motion team, and they shot a lot of threes. This year, in the first 2 games that I saw, totally an opposite of that. So, we're going to, focus on them right away. And tomorrow we'll show the kids, this week we've been working on us. Tomorrow we'll show them Rapid City Central, and we aren't even going to talk about Stevens till Saturday morning. So, we'll get ready, but a lot of things, they do a lot of things, Rapid Central. So, and they've got 3 games under their belt already. So.
And Stevens, very good team again. You said you're going to kind of look at them on Saturday morning as far as they're concerned, but pretty good test there back-to-back in a quick turnaround.
Well, and Stevens is top 3 team in the state. They got a transfer from Hot Springs, and they got a couple from Douglas that transferred over there. So, they're going to be pretty good. They had they played Yankton this past weekend, Yankton and Brandon Valley, and went neck and neck with Yankton, and then they ended up beating Brandon Valley. So just 2 good basketball teams coming in, and we got to be ready to go. And Saturday's an earlier start time. You're starting to play games, JV games, or at 10 or 10:30, and so big day of basketball on Saturday at the Palace with the Colonels, followed by DWU. So we hope everybody gets out and gets to the games.
Yeah, you can come there, 10 in the morning, stay till 10 at night, pretty much.
That's probably what it's going to be.
There you go. Head coach Todd, Neuendorf, Mitchell boys basketball again. Rapid City Central Friday at 7. We'll have that game as well as the Stevens game Saturday afternoon at 1:30. Coach, we'll talk to you then. Thanks for coming down.
Thanks, guys.
Head coach Todd Neuendorf joining us again. Mitchell against Rapid City Central Friday night, and Stevens there on Saturday afternoon. Head coach Wes Morgan, Mitchell girls basketball up next here tonight on the Wednesday Night Coaches Show, live from the Freight House Room of the Depot.
The Mitchell Rec Center is the only place for the whole family, and memberships include the Indoor Aquatic Center with 24/7 access, full-size gyms, swimming pool, racquetball, all kinds of classes, fitness on demand, or fitness with trainers. The Mitchell Rec Center has it all. Become a member where there's something to do every day for everybody. The Mitchell Rec Center, family, fitness, fun.
It's Area Boys Basketball Friday night on Q1073 and online at Q107radio.com with Clint Greenway. Friday night, it's a great matchup. Mount Vernon Plankinton at Corsica Stickney, live from Corsica this Friday with Clint Greenway. coverage begins at 7:30. Tip-off shortly after. Mount Vernon Plankinton at Corsica Stickney, live from Corsica, Friday nights.
You're listening to the Wednesday Night Coach's Corner with Steve and Travis on KORN News Radio, FM 101.3 and AM 1490, online at KORNradio.com. This is Coach Morgan. Now back to the show.
Wednesday night coaches show again. Still have Travis Carpenter with the Mitchell Wrestling coming up about 10 minutes from now, and Matt Wilber with Dakota Wesleyan basketball at 7:15. Wes Morgan joins us. Girls basketball, great win there on Saturday. A bunch of points, 78-66, and you said girls were working this summer, and it sure showed a lot of open shots, and they made the majority of them.
Yeah, I think that's where it starts. I think the summer workouts that the kids did, they got what you call skin in the game now, and they are real competitive and protecting something that they've worked hard for. So I really liked I liked our intensity. I liked how the kids got after it in the full court pressure. We learned a few things that night just by watching the game, and I think they just want to play, and I don't think any of them cared who was scoring as long as we were scoring. And I think that's when you get more out of an assist than you do making a shot, I think you're arrived somewhere as a team.
Yeah, Mac Miller didn't have many points at all. Had a couple of points there in that fourth quarter, but it was all, Tess Lindbergh, Peyton Morgan both had over 20 points. Tess was outstanding. I don't know, looked like she was stronger. She could go to the basket, maybe absorb some contact there. And the 3-point shots were going down. Where do you see Tess improving this year?
I think last year she got to the basket quite often last year. The difference is that she's really worked on that layup, and she's worked on her outside jump shot, and she's so fast, and I think we can still help get her out on a break and get her some open lanes to the basket if we can get an outlet to her, fast enough. She looks for it. We practice it. So I think those things have yet to come. I mean, we didn't even use it the other night, and we have that in our pocket yet. I think Tess is just, and it could be. I told the girls it could be somebody every other night. I told Tess, I said, in the group, I said, your honeymoon's over. You've been in the paper. You scored 28 points. The bullseye's on your back, on your front, on your, and you're not going to get those looks. They're going to key on you. So that being said, I mean, Mandy Schmidt, Jordan Cranny, Jordan had a good night too. I think she might have been 4 or 5 that night. So, I mean, it's the next man up, and I really believe that we'll get better through January, but we'll really get better because our 3 sophomores that have been playing with Cameron Krogman and Avia Haley's trying to figure out pressure and how to defend, and those 2 kids can shoot it. And I think, I wouldn't be surprised if one night they come out and there's one of those has 20 points. So, I mean, we got 7 kids that can shoot it from the perimeter, maybe not all at the 3-point line, but we can all shoot it. So, and I want to throw in there Taylor did a nice job of distributing the basketball and handling the pressure in the full court. So, our big deal is getting better as we go along. One of the things is I brought it up in the fourth quarter, and you mentioned it just before here. Mac didn't touch the ball until the fourth quarter. Well, that's because in the timeout I said, hey, Mac's down low. You guys going to start looking at her a little bit, and then all of a sudden you start focusing on that. Now she's got a few points, and she missed a couple of shots, but I mean, the shots really look good. Looked like they had a chance at going in. So I like where we're at. I like where we're at this point. But it looks like we can be competitive. And if you go back to last year, we couldn't score from the perimeter, so they pack it in. Well, if that's the same, we got the same kids back. I'm sure that the other coach on the other team's going, hey, pack it in on Mac. They can't shoot it. Well,
that opens up the outside.
Now we got the outside. Now we can shoot it. Maybe now the inside will open up, and now we got a full game.
Yeah, to Haley Hone get a few minutes there. Mac was in early. Huron went on a bit of a run when she came out right away, and then she went back in. Their defense tightened up a little bit. So when Haley Hone played a few minutes there, how do you see that maybe post position developing at a ton of depth there but when Mac is down, it looks like the defense pretty solid inside.
Yeah, and again, she creates a lot of she plugs a lot of holes down there. I think we're going to have to figure out a way to play with Peyton. Might be playing some of the 5 right now just to give us some, maybe a little bit of stability. But what we give up on the defensive end, I think we gain a lot on the offensive end, because now if they're in man, they got to find, or even if they're in zone, way we've been running in practice, they got to find 5 kids on the perimeter, and that's hard. That's hard because any of the 5 can shoot it, and
maybe opens up some lanes inside too.
Right on. And if Peyton is, the post is on Peyton, they got to come all the way out on her. Now she can either take them to the basket, or she can shoot the 3 over them. So that's a neat thing that we're starting to figure out.
Yeah, you mentioned Taylor Factor leading that press. I think there was one where I think she had like 3 steals in 20 seconds. Just awesome to watch. She can impact the game so much without even scoring or passing. Her defense is just great to watch.
She's got those long arms, and she's really crafty in how she uses them. And she just does a good job of getting her hands on the ball on passes and stuff like that. So it creates some issues, and hopefully we can wear down teams. That's kind of what we can wear their guards down a little bit, and then capitalize it, because I can rotate guards in and out and maybe not get us tired.
And she played well. She was in a little bit of foul trouble there, but didn't end up picking that up that last foul.
And so was Cameron. And so was Avia. And those are the things that we really worked this week on practice, using your feet instead of your hands. Just let them shoot over you, don't reach in, or get your feet, one step farther and take it with take the pressure with the body instead of getting over there and reaching, and what they call bailing them out. And we did that a lot, especially in the 4th quarter with Hines. So.
Again, you got West Morgan with us here, Mitchell girls basketball, 78-66 win at the Corn Palace against Huron on Saturday night. You go out west, you got Central on Friday. What do you expect from them?
Well, Central's played the 3 teams in Wyoming, 1 out of Nebraska and 2 in Wyoming. They got a girl named Juno Jones that's really a good player, 5'10", college level player. We're gonna have to find her, and then they got some young guards that we'll have to figure out who their shooters are right away. But I got a good idea that they're going to pressure us a little bit, probably more Stevens than Central, but those are the things that we look forward to. When you go out to the hills, you're going to have to play really well. A lot of times coaches will say, if we can just get one, I'm going to be greedy. We're going to get one, then we're going to try to get another one. So, our goal is to compete. This will be a great test for us just to see where we're at. I don't know where Huron rates, but I want to get out and find out where what we're going to be. So that it should be a lot of fun that way.
Yeah, Huron, they won last night. I think they had a couple of power outages.
Yeah, they did.
So that's a problem there. Almost an hour delay. They beat Roosevelt for the first time in, I don't know,
a
long time.
It's great that they got to win. Those kids deserve it. I mean, 29 going on a 28 or 29. Yeah. That's a lot of motivation from coaches trying to keep their heads in the game. And I talked to a few of them after the game. They're really good kids.
Rapid City Central coming up on Friday night. Steve Morgan going to head out there. So that game's at 8 o'clock Central if everything is on time. So we'll start at the Corn Palace at 7, then head on out to Rapid City when they are ready to go there. Then Stevens again on Saturday. That's a 2:30 Central Time tip-off if everything is on track to go. So we'll start here at the Corn Palace with the boys, then head out west with Steve Morgan to the girls when they are ready. Head coach Wes Morgan joins us. Have fun out there, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you.
Head coach Wes Morgan. Wednesday night coaches show. We're just past 7 o'clock. Mitchell Wrestling up next. Travis Carpenter here on the KORNradio.com.
This is John Foster from The Depot. We're more than just a typical sports bar. In addition to pool and darts and sports on TV, we feature 30 beers on tap from all over the globe. Happy hour daily between 4:30 and 7:30 with extended hours on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Enjoy our new menu items, monster burgers, gourmet flatbreads, and salads, along with other soon-to-be Depot favorites. The Depot, open all day, every day, starting at 11:30 a.m.
It's Mitchell Colonel girls basketball play-by-play out west this weekend. The Colonel girls are at Rapid City Central Friday night. Pre-game coverage starts at 7:45 Central Time with play-by-play action at 8 o'clock. Be listening for the Mitchell Roofing and Siding 3-point jackpot and the Shays Player of the Game. Colonel Girls Basketball this weekend in Rapid City on FM 1013, AM 1490, and KORNradio.com.
This is Jordan Cranny. Tune in for all the action on KORN News Radio.
You are listening to the Wednesday Night Coaches Corner with Steve and Travis on KORN News Radio, FM 1013, AM 1490, and online at KORNradio.com. This is Coach Carpenter. Now back to the show.
Mitchell Wrestling, we go next. Travis Carpenter of Mitchell Wrestling out west in Rapid City for a huge tournament this past weekend. And Carson Max finished second. Carter Max finished third. The team was in the top 10. How did everything go out west?
Not too bad. You look at the fact that we placed 4 kids. We had 2 kids in the semis. That's all fine and good, and it was great for those kids to do that. And we'll talk about how well they competed and that kind of stuff. But I was really, we had another 5 kids that were a match away from placing. So, for us to take that next step, that's what we need to do. We need to bounce some more of those kids in there. And to be honest with you, we probably should have had 3 more place winners. But it just didn't work out at that point in time. But as far as our competitiveness, you watch these kids and it's like a night and day compared to last year with some of them. With the younger kids especially, they've had that year of experience. They stepped up and competed really, really well on Saturday. And I was really happy with the effort and I think the direction that we are going with the competitiveness and our unwillingness to give in a lot of places.
Okay, it's going to be hard. You want that extra something. Is that what you're talking about with competitiveness? Maybe they're doing something. They just got to kind of keep going and not give up and roll over.
I think we have that right now more than we've had in probably 5 years. These kids, these young kids that we have right now are doing a phenomenal job. They're working hard in the practice room. You look at a couple kids from Saturday at the Rapid City Invite. Brock Sparks at 106 pounds goes out and takes 7th place. And to some people that might not seem like a big deal, but we've got seniors on our team that have not placed in that tournament. And he goes out and takes 7th place and beats some good kids along the way. And then Tucker Vilhauer, wrestling up probably 2 weight classes, ends up taking 5th place in the Rapid City Invite. There's 38 teams there. For our team to take 9th place and to place those 4 kids, obviously Carson and Carter doing some really good things for us, and they're seasoned veterans, that kind of stuff. We're headed in the right direction. We were a couple men down. We didn't have Kyler Bowder back in the lineup yet. We won't for a while. And Sutton Carpenter was out of the lineup due to illness. So, if we get everybody back in the lineup where they belong and we get that stuff all ironed out, I think that there's big things ahead for our team.
It took 9th as a team. How big again were the brackets? How big again were the brackets?
Well, there's 38 teams there, so every bracket was a 32-man bracket. We only had a couple kids with buys. Other than that, those 32-man brackets were full. So you had to win 3 matches before you lost 2 matches. So if you lose first round, you gotta ways to battle back in there. So yeah, it's a fun tournament. It's a great tournament to go to every year, and unfortunately, you come out of that sometimes with some dings and some bumps and some bruises, and we had a couple kids get dinged up and not get to finish the tournament. But as far as that goes, that's going to hopefully toughen you up for the rest of the season.
Carson Max, how is he doing? What was the situation there in the championship?
Well, we didn't wrestle him in the championship. He got dinged up a little bit in the semis, and he's just kind of a day-to-day situation. We'll know more as we progress throughout each week and that kind of stuff.
Christmas break coming up, schedule coming up here, and how do you kind of give guys a week off here as they kind of get this first third of the season done?
Yeah, obviously tomorrow night we've got Huron up in Huron, and that's going to be one of those duels that's going to come down to bonus points and maybe moving our lineup around a little bit. I think I've told you before how much I enjoy doing that. I like that aspect of things. So it's going to be a matter of finding the right matchups in that lineup and hopefully sneaking out a win tomorrow against Huron. And then we have the Sioux Falls, Washington tournament on Saturday. Next week we have a duel against Aberdeen, so we've got three relatively important events prior to Christmas break. And then we'll take 5 days off. We'll get back at it, and we're back after Christmas at the Clash in Rochester, Minnesota. So, there's a lot of things that we need to accomplish in a short period of time, take a little bit of time off, and then we're back to the meat grinder.
Again, Huron sounds like pretty comparable, pretty close. Going to come down to those extra points and riding time and things like that. You like where you're at as far as the lineup is concerned? How much tinkering do you think you're going to do?
It depends. I never know any of that kind of stuff until I see a weigh-in sheet. But I'm confident in our lineup, and I think that we'll go and we'll compete. Our seniors have been there and done that, and like I've talked before, they're on that last opportunity, that last chance, and you got to love having seniors on your team. But this freshman group of kids has done a great job for us so far, and they're extremely competitive. They're going to be fun to watch for the next 3 years after this.
When you're at a big tournament in Rapid City, how much do you get to see as far as all the mats going on at once? You and all the coaches kind of get to see everybody. What do you like to do?
Well, I like to be in every corner, but obviously that's not necessarily possible. There was times where we had 4 guys on the mat, and we had kids sitting in the corner at points helping the other ones out. So, that's kind of tough when you don't have as many coaches as you have kids wrestling out on the mat. But for the most part, I probably wasn't in the corner for 6 matches. And we wrestled a lot of matches over the weekend, so that's not too bad. Being the head coach, I like to be there for the kids. To show them that they're as important as the other guy. I don't like to give one guy any preference over anybody else. It's whether you're a 106-pound freshman or you're a 195-pound senior, it's you're all important, and that's the team aspect of things, and that's the cool thing that I witnessed this weekend, and I haven't witnessed it as much in the last couple of years. After the first round, we come out, Brock Sparks gets a pin. And then it just kind of rolled into just a really, really good first round. And we're in 3rd place after round number 1. And the kids were all looking at the scoreboard and they're talking about, hey, we're in 3rd place. And they're excited about it. And now that feeds into the next round. And I'm like, okay, guys, you're excited about this. What are we going to do to keep ourselves there? And, it was one of those things that was, for me, it was that click, that thing clicked in their minds that, what, we can do this as a group. And, wrestling's one of those crazy sports where you go out and you wrestle as an individual, but you have an effect on your team. So what are we doing throughout the tournament? We're cutting guys to get majors. We're going after falls. We're doing things like that. And it's been a while since our kids have had that mentality. And we talked tonight about tomorrow's duel, and that's what it's going to take. Let's go out and get bonus points. Let's go out and wrestle for our team. It's not about me. It's about we. And that's really the fun part about what we have going on right now.
Those longer trips to Rapid City may go to Sioux Falls. It's an hour away, but those longer trips to Rapid City, that team bonding experience, do you do anything else? Do you have any time to do anything else besides wrestling? But if not, how does that, bring the team together just to be with each other at all times?
Absolutely. Anytime you can spend additional time as a group, when these kids spread out and they leave practice, they go to their own homes, they go to different friends and stuff like that. But, when you can lock them up in a hotel room and keep them all together and that kind of stuff, it definitely helps out. And, they're not in a hurry to get out of wherever we're at and get to their girlfriend or their buddies or whatever it is. And they're hanging out together. And the one thing I've noticed about this group is they seem to have a legitimate and real care for each other. And that's something that's rare and special. And hopefully that takes us somewhere.
And how does the competition compare here at Sioux Falls, Washington, Saturday?
Well, it's a totally different situation because there's only 9 teams compared to 38 teams. But they place 6 out of the 8 or 9 people. So if you win a match, essentially you're in for a place. But it's a different situation. Sioux Falls, Roosevelt's there, Watertown's there. Watertown's got a really nice team. There's a team, Boulder City. The only Boulder City I know, I believe, is in Colorado. So I have no idea. I have no idea if that's right or not. I don't know where they're from. I haven't looked, but it says Boulder City. That's the only one I know of. So I have no idea where they're from. Team from Minnesota in Adrian. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun, to see where we're at a week after, the meat grinder that we were in Rapid City.
Travis Carpenter with the Mitchell Wrestling. Again, they're at Huron tomorrow night at 7, then at Sioux Falls, Washington. We're at all-day tournament this weekend on Saturday. Thanks for coming on.
Yep, thank you.
And Coach Travis Carpenter, Mitchell Wrestling again. Carson Max second in Rapid City. Carter Max, he finished third at 220 in Rapid as well. Final coach up next, Matt Wilber with Dakota Wesleyan basketball back in the rankings. Talk with head coach Matt Wilber coming up next.
It's Mitchell Colonel girls basketball play-by-play out west this weekend. The Colonel girls are at Rapid City Central Friday night. Pre-game coverage starts at 7:45 Central Time with play-by-play action at 8 o'clock. Be listening for the Mitchell Roofing and Siding 3-point jackpot and the Shays Player of the Game. Colonel girls basketball this weekend in Rapid City on FM 1013, AM 1490, and KORNradio.com.
This is Jordan Cranny. Tune in for all the action on KORN News Radio.
You are listening to the Wednesday Night Coaches Corner with Steve and Travis on AM 1490 KORN and online at 1490KORN.com. This is Coach Wilber of Dakota Wesleyan Basketball. Now back to the show.
Wednesday Night Coaches Show. We're online here at KORNradio.com. Matt Wilber, Dakota Wesleyan basketball here. A couple wins at Mount Marty, 86-80. You beat Doane. Good comeback there on the road, 75-66. Some nice road wins there. Some tough places to play.
Yeah, proud of our guys. We had a couple of interesting games, to say the least. You go down and play your rivalry, your rivalry game with Mount Marty in state and in conference, and you've been winning that game, and it's been a pretty big margin, and you're just supposed to win it every time, right? And that's not easy. And so Mount Marty played really well. Their guards, Jalen Billings and Colby Johnson, I thought were really good, and we couldn't make many shots in the first half, so we went and tied, and then we had a battle the whole way. But Ty Hoagland was really good in that game. Nick Harden made plays for us down the stretch, and Sam McLeod in that game, he went 5-11 from the three and hit all of the threes in the second half, and was a huge factor for that. So yeah, we won that game close, and then we were down at Doane, who's really, really talented. I mean, you look at their talent up and down. I mean, they got a 6'10" post player that's shooting 75%, and his percentage went up after our game. He went 8 of 9 against us, and they've got 2 Division I transfers, and they're just not a together group. I know their coach really well. I feel for him a little bit because they're struggling with their cohesiveness, and we're just getting our butts whipped. It's a 17-point game, 18-point game in the second half, and we go to a zone and a press, and they just really struggled. They turned it over a lot and couldn't make any shots. And credit our guys, we came back and we finished the game. They started a 9-0 run to start the second half, and we finished on a 45-18 run to win it. And so it was a wild game. It was one of those for a while. I was like, okay, let's just get out of here. And I credit our guys for not giving into that, because we're able to get a win out of there. And it's a tough place to play, and you go on the road and win 2 games against teams where, our records are struggling to come out of that. So I was proud of our dudes. There's a lot of good things going on there.
Is it one thing, maybe the team that has the most talent wins most of the time, but maybe they just don't play together? It's the team that plays the best together is better?
Yeah, unless the talent is such a wide gap, if you're at the point where the talent is so wide, it won't matter. But the longer I'm in it, without question, the more I feel strongly about cohesive and chemistry and those things. And coaches use these words all the time, and they're slogans and they're cliches, yeah. And and we use the word, we talk about it, and you talk about culture. I'm like, but we don't put it on our back. And so, I mean, it's hard to evaluate culture, when you're going through that stuff, and because it's an everyday deal. I mean, you get down and dirty into the word culture and talk about societies and all that stuff. I mean, our basketball team is its own little culture, and those guys are a part of that, not 24 hours a day, but they're a part of it, especially when we're together, and they're a part of it when they're in their dorms, and and so it's what they do, say, act, how they interact. All of that stuff is something that's going on, and if there's an issue, it's going to show up, and it's going to show up at the wrong times. Frankly, it's going to, I use the word good or bad, you are going to shine, you are going to shine at the wrong time or at the right time. And so, the team we played, that happened to them in our game, and you could see guys, and you can hear it on the court too, and you feel for teams when that's going on. And not that we've been perfect, but I think we've had a really strong culture. But I'll be critical of our culture too. I mean, it hasn't been an A+ every year I've been here. We've fluctuated around, but it's the only thing I really pay attention to every day and every minute of what we're doing. The X's and O's, all the stuff we do, who's playing, who's not playing, is secondary to, are we a together group? Are we connected? Do we feel good with each other? And we've had moments this year between coach and players that's been challenged. And I love that we've got a culture where we've had guys speak up to me and go, "Hey, Wilbs, this doesn't feel right," or "This doesn't feel right," as opposed to, the overriding power of Coach Wilber and you guys do this, and they come back with that, and I credit our guys for that. And you want to empower I do anyway, want to empower our team to feel free to say stuff like that, so we can be moving in the right direction. They're the ones out there making those plays. They're the ones going through it. I have very little impact on a game once the game gets going, and so, yeah, so long answer to that question, right? But it's a big deal. I think it's the biggest of deals, especially in college basketball, where you spend so much time together. We started practicing the first day we got back to school, and we had our core here all summer. So you're talking, if we're getting to, we play 30-some games, I bet we're together 300 days out of the year. You're talking about a lot of interaction, and you can spin the juice any way you want. It can be a negative deal or it can be a positive. It's just it's interesting. I love that part of it, but it's a challenge, and it's the biggest challenge. And I think it's the most important factor with a team.
Those common themes, you like those players that can speak up and they feel comfortable that they can talk and say, this is good, this is bad. Other factors, are there any other factors? Selfless players or players that communicate well and talk on the court?
Well, I think you bring up a really good point. Like you bring in all these guys to college basketball, and we have a big roster, obviously. And so we're trying to figure out who's going to play for us, who's not, who's going to be on the practice squad, who's, like all this stuff. But you've got a bunch of guys that are really talented, and they all want individual things. That's not that you're not going to beat that out of them, but they're all going to want, hey, what am I getting out of this? That's a real question. What the goal of a coach, I think, is, and the goal of hey, can you give in? Or if you're a me guy, where's your we guy at? Where do you rank on the scale of that? And so you've just got guys that have to be able to not just buy into like, hey, here's what you're going to do today. This is what I need you to do. And guys go, okay, and they try to go out and do it. But guys that are like, all right, I'm gonna go out and excel there. I'm gonna go out and, hey, you need me to do this and be this guy here. I'm gonna go kick butt down there and do that. And so that's the biggest challenge, because if you got guys that are questioning any of it, that question just spreads, and I don't, there's a lot of things we say in athletics that you'll hear coaches say that, hey, we're going to war. I don't say that stuff. My grandpa was in war.
That's a step too far. We're playing a game
now I'll say basketball, like the basketball sense, or the word cancer, we say this is in athletic sense or whatever, but it is. You look at that word cancer, it starts in one cell and it spreads fast if not taken care of or whatever. And so we use it from the athletic sense, and it's the same way. You just, those things, the negative things are easy to spread and hard to take care of if they get out of control. And so it's the only thing I pay attention to. And there's a coach that I heard a great quote from him. He's down at South Carolina. He was at Kansas State, Frank Martin. And he goes, we talk to our kids every day about this stuff, about culture and how to be a teammate and how to do this, because everybody they're talking to is talking to them about, hey, you need to get yours and you need to get this. This is what's good for you. And this, and that's not what basketball is. Basketball is a team dance, that's different from any other sport. It's not like football where it's choreographed and, hey, we're going to hand it off here and you got to block this and you got to do that. Basketball, it's, hey, pass it here. You got to make decisions with the ball, when to shoot. It's a lot of variables. There are, and you got to be a unified group if you're going to have any success. So there's just a lot to that.
Do young coaches struggle with that? Maybe they spend too much time on the X's and O's.
Well, like, and I still look at myself as a young coach, but like where my experience comes from is I think I've been a lifelong athlete, either as an amateur baseball player, an amateur basketball player, a college basketball coach, a college baseball player, I've been around a lot of athletes, and I think that's where my experience lies. And I've been around good ones and bad ones, and I've got a vision of what the really good athlete looks like based on what I've coached and who I played with, and what the bad ones look like. And you try to find that stuff. And I think it's the most important thing you can do. Now, with young coaches, especially when you're talking about high school, that's tough. You don't get to spend the time with them in high school that I do as a college guy, because our guys are coming in and out of class all the time, stopping in the offices. They go to bed in the dorms. The last people every high school kid sees is a parent, and if they're, like after a game or, whatever, I'm lucky that I'm probably the strongest influence all the time with our guys regarding that. So if I was to give advice to anybody, just my experience, I'd be like, you need to be way more focused on your chemistry and your connectedness and what's going on in the locker room. Who has the voice of your locker room? If you got the wrong voice controlling your locker room, you are screwed. And likewise, if you got the right voice and the right guys doing you always have a chance. And that's what I feel really good about right now with our basketball team, despite some tough losses and what we've got in front of us. And who knows what's going to happen. But I just feel good about us day in and day out because of those guys up front.
Wednesday Night Coaches Show, Matt Wilber joins us. Any coaches that you've seen speak or seminars you've gone to that you enjoyed or you thought were the best?
Yeah, like I love listening to that stuff. I really, I wish I did it more, and I wish I spent more time reading, because there's such good information out there regardless, outside of athletics, but just in our athletic realm. And I was lucky to play for our coach with some really good coaches, that have had a lot of success, and you watch what those guys do and how they interact with their guys and what's successful for them, because everybody I played for or worked for has a very different personality than I do. And so, I'll never try to change my personality to it, but every one of them that was really, really good has always been very connected to the players first, where it's the X's and O's and all that stuff that you're doing with them in the games and during practice is secondary to their buy-in. And, there was, I heard he coached at Georgetown, Thompson, right?
Yep.
Big
John
guy.
Thompson,
Yeah, John Thompson. And I saw a quote from him, and he was an imposing character, right? He used to get after guys. I saw a quote from him that has always stuck with me, and I saw it about 20 years ago. He goes, I never laid into a player or got after a guy in a negative manner until I was 100% confident that he knew I 100% believed in him. And I feel that very strongly. And it's tough because you're always looking for the things they need to change. So it's hard to give the pats on the back all the time, because you're always like, hey, this isn't going to work and that's not going to work. So you can get into a negative flow, but I'm very cautious to I'm always checking, does this kid know I believe in him? Does this kid know he's got the freedom to go play? Because they're going to screw up. They're going to miss. They're going to turn it over. But if they know I believe in them, then they can go back and do it again. And so that quote's always stuck with me. I thought it was a pretty powerful one from a guy who's tough on his kids, and you could see that.
Matt Wilber joins us here again, wins at Mount Marty and at Doane this past week. Recruiting-wise, you've done very well recruiting the area. There haven't been maybe that high-level Division I player that's maybe stayed in state. Is it just because those players haven't been available?
Yeah.
Or you also have a few maybe coaching staffs here that are not maybe from South Dakota or the area, and they have their own areas they like to go to.
Well, it's hard for me to be critical of other coaches, and how they recruit. We've got a couple of kids that other area coaches at a higher level, I talk about Ty Hoagland, that fans of other schools would go, well, why is Ty not here? How is he at Dakota Wesleyan? And this is what I'll say to that is, maybe he went to the perfect place for him. Maybe that was the best fit. Maybe that's how that worked. And kids that don't come here, maybe that's the case too. But when you're looking for who you want to recruit and how you recruit, everybody's got their own philosophy with it, and you got to try to project. And it's tough because if we knew, and if I knew exactly who was going to be the guy, we wouldn't lose any games because our recruiting would be perfect. Like you would know who to take, you'd know when to take them. And so, but with our area, it's a little different. This is a big conversation now, so I'll try to keep it really brief.
We got
okay,
no time, whatever time restrictions these folks.
Well, us is a scholarship issue, like the GPAC in the NEIA is restricted to offering kids a tuition scholarship at the highest level now, and that's a huge scholarship at it. You give a kid a full tuition, that's a huge scholarship for us. That's just not normal for us. At the Division II level, all the schools are allowed to give 10 full rides, which is room and board and tuition. Well, you start talking to a kid and you're like, hey, a great player that might be interested in Dakota Wesleyan, you get into a tough spot if you're recruiting against Northern, Augie, USF, NDSU, NDSU, SCSU, whatever. I mean, all that stuff, because you're going, okay, do you want to come to DWU? Maybe, but if you don't, and you take the full ride to those other schools, that might be $30,000, and what are you going to say to that? And if those teams are offering you that, they obviously expect you to be at a caliber of player, and so the one thing that we have is our coaches in the area do an unbelievably good job of recruiting. I talk to coaches nationally, in every corner of the nation. Our population in this area and the level of play that's going on from the Division I to Division II to NEIA, there's not a kid getting missed. So you have to beat them head to head when they're getting recruited. You're not going to find a Division II kid sneaking by. Oh, nobody's seen him yet. That happens in Florida. That happens in the East Coast. Those things happen, and it just doesn't happen out here. So, and then the other side of it is Northern State going to a national championship game, Augustana winning national titles, SGSU. Like these options at the higher level for these kids are big time options, and for us to have a kid like Ty Hoagland here who had opportunities at a higher level with scholarships, to us to have a kid like Sawyer Schultz coming here who had opportunities to go, that's a credit to Dakota Wesleyan. That's a credit to our roster, and I'm proud of that. It's not the norm. You hope you can. That's swinging at a bad pitch down in the dirt and hitting a home run. Like your breaks are going your way and the timing is right. And now the timing's right for those kids. Sawyer and Ty, like those kinds of kids. Nate Davis was in that world. Colin Kramer. We've got guys that have come here that have chosen that path, and I think it's the right path for them. And my job is to make sure that they made the right decision as we go with that. And so it's fun to do it. I love the recruiting. It's a tough job because you get told no a ton, but the challenge is fun, and we get out and recruit good kids.
Ty Hoagland, Conference Player of the Week this week. You'll be in Vegas next week. That should be fun. And you got Concordia at home Saturday. So big schedule. Concordia coming up. And then what do you got planned for Vegas?
Yeah, the Concordia Day is going to be a lot of fun, obviously. I think probably the keynote game in that, I think our game's an absolutely huge game, but obviously the women are playing, and that's a 1 versus 3 and a flip-flop, right? Our girls were 2, Concordia was 1, and this most recent poll, that switched because Concordia dropped a game, but that's going to be a high-level basketball game. But yeah, then we go to Vegas. Our women go down to Florida, so both teams are taking fun trips. We go out and play a couple of California teams, and it's a good event. We've been there before. They do a really good job of taking care of us. It's going to be good weather, and those are things kids remember. Like we've been lucky to be at the national tournament the last 4 years, and kids remember that stuff, but they remember these trips and I still remember trips we took in baseball and basketball, and the wins and losses besides the point. So it's fun that we're able to do that. We're lucky that we have people that help us with fundraising, and because that's where this stuff comes from. We have to fundraise for these trips, and we're lucky that people are helping us out because it's a big part of the college experience, especially at a place like Dakota Wesleyan.
Matt Wilber joining us again, a triple header of basketball. You have the boys playing Stevens at 1:30. Then you have, again, Concordia doubleheader with the women starting at 4. Probably seen a few weeks here. Enjoy Vegas.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I'll look at my temperature gauge every day. We went to Florida a few years ago, and when we left South Dakota and landed in Florida, there was 100 degrees difference. We left at -20, and landed an 80. So it was. We're okay with doing that every once in a while, right?
There you go. Big
Yep,
December
yep,
trip again.
yep,
Vegas next week. Enjoy that. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Yep. Thanks a lot.
Head coach Matt Wilber again. Dakota Wesleyan women, they were winning big at halftime there against Dakota State. As that'll wrap it up here this week for the Wednesday night coaches show. Again, SDSU women's basketball. They're in action right now, taking on Oregon. They should be close to halftime right now. Again, Oregon, one of the best teams ever to come to Frost Arena, ranked 7th in the country. They were in the top 5 before they lost to Michigan State just a few days ago. Get a score update here from Brookings, see how the SDSU women are going, and SDSU women are ahead 35-27 halfway through the second quarter. So that would be probably the biggest win of all time in South Dakota State athletics. Maddie Giebert with 4 3-pointers early on with 14 points. Maya Sellen with 13 points early on as well. So a great start for SDSU. They're on an 8-0 run over the past minute. They're ahead of 7th-ranked Oregon, 35-27. Travis Grins here tonight from the Freight House Room of the Depot. We'll get the quarterback club started right here, and we'll be back coming up on the radio on, again, Wednesday night Coaches Show on KORN.
You've been listening to the Wednesday Night Coaches Corner live from the Freight House Room of the Depot on KORN News Radio, FM 1013 and AM 1490 KORN. The Wednesday Night Coaches Corner was brought to you by the Depot and the Mitchell Rec Center. This has been a sports presentation of KORN News Radio, FM 1013 and AM 1490 KORN Mitchell, a division of Nedved Media, LLC.